Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this brief ag forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. I want to start first with a quick discussion about La Nina and encourage you to watch the other video, the more in-depth video, because I look for an analog year to this upcoming winter and then the following spring and summer to what I think we're going to experience with this current La Nina. Now, you know we've been forecasting for this La Nina to bottom out stronger than anticipated and then possibly fade even into El Nino conditions by late next spring. That is a possibility. What's unique about it is the cool water that is here and here. And what we do in that other video is we discuss what the major signals are and look for an analog. And I discussed that in that video. So please go take a look at it. That's important for this upcoming next 9 months or so. Now, recently, we've had quite a bit of heavy precipitation, including a pretty nasty line of storms that went right in through here. Very unique radar signatures in some of those storms. But then what was left over from Pamela coming across Texas, meeting up with the flow around a big ridge over the southeast, and the net effect is we've really kind of squeezed the air here. In some places picked up some very heavy rainfall. This is on its way to the Ohio River Valley and the eastern Corn Belt and eventually the Northeast. And while much of the central part of the United States gets a break and gets a chance to dry out a little bit, same with the Southeast, we're going to close those harvest windows pretty tight here in this section of the Corn Belt. And the problem is that there's folks trying to get soybeans out here to get a winter wheat crop planted, and we're not really seeing much of that happen. Now, this longer-term forecast, honestly, we knew that we weren't going to be seeing this fall those kind of dreaded stationary fronts that can line up like this across the midsection of the country. And instead, we anticipated a more active storm track of systems coming through. And while we got that, I did not forecast it to be as wet as you see here. So this is month-to-date precipitation ranks by climate district. And a lot of what you see right up in this area, of course, just fell recently. A lot of that came down to snow. Over the last 72 hours, this is the total accumulated snowfall. And because of the temperature rebound that's going to happen in this area, you're going to see a lot of this snow melt, except for the stuff that's up in the mountains. And that's going to be important because, of course, with the new drought monitor being released, we know that that is an area that is certainly still dealing with longer-term drought. So to return soil moisture and improve the overall health of the soil by just putting that moisture back in it, after this thaw is going to happen, I think is going to be a positive note for that particular region. I do also expect, we'll talk about this in a moment, for improvements in the drought situation in the West. We'll get to that in a few seconds. And I'll be interested to see when we get next week's update how much of this drought was erased here. But first, that soil moisture. Now, this is the 4-inch values. So you can tell we're very high in this area and here. But I expect change in this region right here as this next system comes kind of pushing through there. May bring in some stronger storms, but as it does so, bringing in quite a bit of heavy rainfall. Okay, so let's go look now at the flow of the atmosphere. There's our deep low that started off in Wyoming and has moved quickly here north of Lake Winnipeg. And then we still have a ridge over the south. And that ridge over the south is going to be important because it is going to stop a front that's going to advance in this direction here later on this week and weekend. But this whole flow pattern is set up to bring a lot of precipitation here, like I said, to the eastern Corn Belt. All attention after that point is going to be back here as the atmosphere really reloads with the deep trough in the west. We'll get to that in a second. First, tomorrow, Friday, is where we're watching for our severe weather threat into this area. If we just go here and use our high-res NAM model, we can kind of see this is getting through tonight into tomorrow morning. Let's stop it at 7 a.m. Still quite a bit of scattered shower activity here, but as we progress through midday Friday, getting into Friday afternoon and evening, that's where the storms start to kick up. This is all light rain on the backside, but the severe weather threat is in through here. And look at this frontal squall line that extends all the way down to the Gulf Coast here in Texas. That frontal squall line tries to press east, but once it runs into that higher pressure, it just kind of fades. Doesn't really get into Georgia or South Carolina just yet. And meanwhile, through the day on Friday into Saturday morning, we're still putting down quite a bit of precipitation from eastern Tennessee all the way up through parts of Ohio and then into Pennsylvania and New York. And this all kind of gathers in the northeast. And I'm going to watch out late Saturday afternoon for another shot at a frontal squall line right here, possibly bringing in some afternoon thunder. Maybe some of those storms could be quite strong. But look at that. After this, when we get into Saturday, Sunday, the weekend really opens up here. And I'm going to talk more about that by showing you the upper level flow pattern. So there's the first trough that goes through right there. And that's what's going to bring in the cooler weather behind it. But as I told you, expect a melt of some of that snow. Look at the ridge that's here. Now, once we get into early next week, one very small shortwave takes off by next Tuesday, really Monday night to Tuesday morning here out of Wyoming and heads toward Wisconsin. At the same time, there's another wave to the north that cuts through the northern parts out of Alberta through Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Now that little system is going to bring some rain. The one to the south is here. But look at what happens in the west. We continue to see ridging here and a very, very deep trough that develops just off the coast. In the operational European model, by the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, really takes the jet stream and makes it zonal and fast. Zonal meaning west to east. And this is going to target the west coast with some very heavy rainfall. So through our next 10 days, this is a good map just to kind of solidify the pattern. We've got the first system here coming into the Ohio River Valley and then pulling into Quebec after going through the northeast, making it wet. High pressure protecting the south. We're drier in the southern plains for much of the next 7+ days, but that system next Monday night through next Wednesday that comes through here could add more precipitation in this area. Outside of that, we're dry until we really bring in the strong zonal winds from the west into California, Oregon, and Washington. And take a look at how loaded this is with moisture. This animation we're right now going through this weekend and early next week shows you precipitable water. And by next Wednesday, we get the first kind of taste of that, this river of moisture coming into California. But that's not the main show. The main show here, this is next Thursday into Friday, Saturday the 23rd, Sunday the 24th. Now we're targeting the whole of the West with a large push of moisture. And that's what's bringing in those above average precipitation amounts once you get into week 2. So to see the differences in the models, though, I'm going to show you again, GFS on the left, European on the right. As we play this forward, we've already seen through Friday into early Saturday. So that's the first system we saw gathering in the northeast. And we know that after that, high pressure builds in, and yes, it's cooler, but we get a quieter time period until we get out to about Monday night. Now, the European model is going to take that upper level low, pull it through Wyoming, and shove it over to Wisconsin much quicker than what we get in the GFS. That's right. The GFS, which is normally more progressive, doesn't have the same depth in the wave. And so what ends up happening is by Thursday, well, let's get out there to Thursday morning. How about there? This is where the low pressure center is kept from the European. The GFS is the one that's farther back. But this does bring through midweek next week a chance for precipitation here with a front to the south of it. See that? So this is next Thursday into Friday, getting out there toward Saturday and Sunday. And now notice this. The European very quick with bringing in that huge push of moisture into the west. The GFS is a little bit later on doing that, but it does catch up. Notice by the time we get up to the 24th, the GFS ensemble says, all right, bring that trough in. And from there, it pushes further, and it displaces the ridge that was here and pushes it back over the Hudson Bay. Now, this is going to set up an active West Coast and an active Central United States into week 2, and that's what the models have picked up on. So this is the GFS ensemble first. You can see the above average precipitation in the west, and then you see the active storm track, possibly Texas to the Midwest, maybe back to the plains as well. European bit into this too. This is the week 2 outlook from the European model. Okay, now that we've seen what we're looking at for the next 15 days, let's flip this discussion over towards temperatures. Because since September 15th, much of the Midwest, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes states into the Northeast have had either a top 5 or the warmest such 30-day time period on record. And that was extremely well forecast by the longer range models. That's their forecast from a month ago. Really, really well forecast. Well, where's all this going? We still have freeze warnings out here and here in Colorado. There's frost advisories in this area. So we got some colder air that is coming through, and this is flood, by the way. And let's just take a look at how low those temperatures get. So low temperatures first. This is not highs, these are lows. This is Friday morning, Saturday morning. Now, do you see this thin white line? That is my 0-degree isotherm. So we could be getting freezing temperatures, or sub-freezing temperature across a big section of South Dakota into Nebraska, western Kansas, the panhandles, even over around Lubbock. The east is still quite warm. But the time we get to Saturday, though, things moderate a bit. Still cool in the south. But then as we go into Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, that's how the temperatures shape up. So that cool shot is temporary. Let's look at it in high temperatures. So here's today's highs. We've already experienced these. There's Friday. Getting into Saturday. Going into Sunday. Notice you still see the reflection of the snow here. See that? It's going to be warm all around where that snow fell, but right there, snow's going to keep it cool. This is going now into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. Now going beyond that, this is the new day 5 through 10. And what we do notice is that unlike what we had been watching for, which was the perpetuation of the really above average temperatures, the pattern did break somewhat. Notice it's not just persistent heat, but it is reloading with the deep trough here. So by day 10 through 15, this is what happens. The west goes back ever cool. That ridge moves from here to here to here, and with it gives another shot at some warmer weather. Now thinking about that, when could we get some frosty temperatures, across the northern tier of the U.S., Great Lakes, into the Northeast? Well, I'm noticing on the 21st, the chance of getting a temperature below 32 early in the morning here, relatively high in the northern plains. And then as we play this out through the 23rd, 24th, don't see a lot of frost, right? It may not be till the end of the month that we start to see the risks showing up in the Northeast as well. But overall, this is a more mild pattern. Although it's not hot, it's just more mild. And the models take that and just run with it. The new outlook for October 26th through November 25th keeps the persistence in the pattern. And that's why we think we'll favor more days with above normal temperatures here than below. And over here, more days with below normal temperatures than above. And the precipitation pattern, I bet you could guess what this is going to look like. Active west, storms eject into the plains, above normal precipitation. Long story short, this continues to give us some tighter harvest windows in this area. That's the way that I would think about it. Okay, I'm going to watch it all weekend. Report back to you again on Monday. Have a good rest of your week and weekend, and we'll talk to you then. Thanks.